You ever look at an ancient story and think, what could this possibly teach me today? Well, we're going to dive into one of those stories, but not as just some dusty piece of history. We're going to treat it like a real-world blueprint for leadership, especially when you're facing, impossible odds.
So, let me just ask you this straight up. What do you do when everything's broken? When the project just tanks, the team's falling apart, or the whole point of what you're trying to build just feels like it's in ruins? It's a tough question for sure, but I think it's something we all run into one way or another. All right, so today we're going to unpack the story of a guy named Nehemiah. But think of him less like an ancient figure and more like a modern project manager who's been handed an impossible task. Our whole goal here is to pull out a clear, practical guide from his story, something you can actually use in your own life, your own work. So let's jump in.
Every big project, every major shift in life, it all starts with a single moment. It's that moment when a problem and a person just collide. And right there, a leader is born. So this first part, it's all about that initial call to action.
Okay, first thing you gotta understand is that Nehemiah didn't have to do any of this. I mean, he had a good job, a cushy life, total security. He was miles away from the actual problem and could have just shrugged and said, hey, not my circus, not my monkeys, right?
But then the bad news hits. He gets a report, and it's devastating. The heart of his community, the place that was basically the soul of his people, was completely gone. And we're not just talking about some buildings here. This was the hub, the place for culture, for connection, for hope. And it was just rubble.
And right here we see his first absolutely crucial leadership move. He didn't just hear the news, he felt it, He didn't just scroll past the headline or pass it off to someone else. He actually sat down with it and allowed himself to care. And that emotional connection, that was the spark. That's what started the whole fire.
Okay, so caring is the start, but let's be real, it's not enough on its own. Now we move into phase 2. This is where that raw emotion gets channeled into a real intention. It's the critical groundwork, the stuff nobody sees, that really decides if a project is going to succeed or just completely fall apart. We can actually break his whole prep process down into 3 simple steps. First, he felt the need. We just talked about that, right? But then he moved from just feeling to seeing. He formed a vision. And then he went from seeing to doing by putting together a solid, concrete plan.
And this is such a key point. It shows the huge difference between a task and a vision. Yeah, the task was build some walls, but the vision, the big why behind it all, that was about restoring people, rebuilding their dignity, their identity. And great leaders, they always anchor their team in a purpose that's way bigger than just the job at hand.
So armed with this powerful vision, he goes to the king. And you can think of the king as the CEO, the board of directors, the main investor, whatever. But here's the thing. He didn't just show up complaining. No way. He showed up like a professional project manager. He had a timeline, a resource list, a risk assessment. He even had solutions ready to go. He was prepared. And because he was so prepared, he earned their trust. And boom, the project got the green light.
All right, so the plan's approved, the funding's in place. Now it's time to get boots on the ground. This next part is all about taking that beautiful, well-crafted strategy and turning it into a real human effort. It's about getting an entire community moving.
Now, you'd think the first thing he'd do is hold a big, rah-rah rally, right? Nope. Instead, he went out by himself at night and just quietly inspected the damage. He needed to see the reality of it with his own 2 eyes. Because good leaders don't just work off of reports and assumptions. They get out there and face what's broken, head on, so they really get the scale of the challenge.
And his way of building a team was, it was totally different. The normal way to do this would be to hire a small team of outside experts, professional builders. But Nehemiah, he rallied the whole community. He assigned different families, different groups of neighbors, their own section of the wall to rebuild. I mean, think about it, a super risky move. But he was betting that their shared passion for the project would make up for any lack of professional skill.
And this is such a powerful idea. It's a huge psychological shift. See, by giving everyone ownership over a piece of the puzzle, he completely changed how they saw themselves. They weren't victims of this terrible situation anymore. They were active builders of their own recovery. They weren't just putting up a wall. They were literally rebuilding their own future.
Of course, you know how it is. No good project ever goes smoothly. The moment you start making real progress,
that's when the resistance shows up. So this next phase is all about those obstacles that are bound to pop up and the kind of resilience you need to push through them. We can actually sort the conflicts he faced into 3 different buckets. First, you had the outside critics, just mocking them. His response? He just ignored the noise and kept the team focused on building. Then, things got serious. The threats became physical. So what'd he do? He adapted the plan. Build with one hand, hold a weapon with the other. And finally, and this is a big one, problems started from within. Injustice was threatening to tear the team apart. His response there? He paused the work, stepped in, protected his people, and got everyone refocused on the original mission.
And this really shows us what resilience actually is, right? It's not just about gritting your teeth and working harder. It's about being smart, about adapting your strategy. It's that idea of building with one hand and protecting with the other, knowing how to change your tactics without ever losing focus on the main goal.
And it's so important to remember this. As loud as the critics were on the outside, the biggest dangers came from the inside. We're talking about burnout, people getting exhausted, running out of supplies, and even fighting amongst themselves. A great leader gets that you have to spend just as much energy managing the health of your own team as you do fighting off the external attacks.
And all of this brings us to the final act, the breakthrough. After all that planning, all that building, all that fighting, we finally get to the finish line. And what's really cool is that now we can take everything we've seen and boil it down to a simple blueprint that honestly works for any kind of rebuilding project.
And then it happened. Against all odds, with a team of volunteers, under constant threat, the entire thing was finished. And how long did it take? Just 52 days. Can you believe that? What everyone called impossible was done in less than 2 months.
But look, the real win here wasn't the wall. It wasn't the stone and mortar. The greatest achievement was what happened to the people. The community that built it was now stronger, more unified. They had a new sense of purpose. The process of rebuilding the wall had actually rebuilt the people themselves.
So this brings it all right back to you, because this isn't just some old story, right? What's the broken wall in your life right now? Is it a relationship that's fallen apart? A career that feels like it's in shambles? Maybe a dream you just let crumble?
The blueprint this story gives us is actually pretty simple. It turns out you don't need to have all the skills or know all the answers to get started. You just need 3 things. A heart that really genuinely cares, a vision of what could be that gets other people excited, and, well, the courage to just take that first step.
Because if you have that foundation, you can rebuild so much more than just what's broken. You can rebuild hope. So really, the only question left is, when are you going to start?